Hey there. I'm just sitting in the PSR room here and reading this paper that you guys have for your next page. It's kind of like a cheesy little newspaper. But I was noticing some things about it. It's actually kind of interesting because it talks about exile and hope. And just as I was sitting here, I was thinking, I know what it's like when things could be better sometimes. I mean, look at this wall. Do you know what happened to this wall in this room? This is the room that kindergarten through third grade go in. And what happened is some company came and they did some work. And they did a good job at what they were supposed to do. But they messed up, and as a result, a bunch of water got on this wall. And so it really needs some help. But I'm going to work really hard to get it fixed. And I'm going to probably be painting it myself if anybody wants to come in and help me sometime. And it made me think, as I was sitting here reading this next to it, about people facing exile. And that is what we hear about in this story in the Jerusalem Daily News. People face exile. Jeremiah has hope. It says, fears are running high in Jerusalem that the Babylonians will break down the walls and overrun the city this week. The Babylonian army has laid siege to the city as it did 10 years ago in 598 through 597. Remember that the years were going backwards back then because they were before Christ. People didn't know exactly what date they were waiting for, but they knew they were waiting for something. So when we look back at those times, we call times BC, before Christ. We count them, we count down until Christ. So there's a little imagination going on here. First of all, they didn't have newspapers, but anyway. Then the Babylonians starved our kingdom into submission. Made us a vassal state and took many people captive back to Babylon. So what's this really all about? This is about the times that the prophet Jeremiah lived in. And this is imagining how the people at those times felt. Now, the reason they show it to you this way is because the times really happened. So this helps make it real for us to see it this way. So people were really worried about the Babylonians coming into their city, and they were very, very frightened. It says, the events are proving the harsh words of the prophet Jeremiah to be true. When Jeremiah first began prophesying back in the reign of King Josiah, he called us to keep the law and care for the poor rather than take advantage of them. We paid him little attention. More recently, Jeremiah smashed pots to act out what will happen in the city. He wore a yoke to demonstrate that Israel will serve the Babylonians. The king put him in a cistern to die, but a friend got him out. Remember, in the last video, we talked about the bad things they did to Jeremiah? That's them. Many people worry that the Babylonians will destroy the temple when they break through the city gates. Jeremiah will make no promise that God will protect the temple. Many families worry that the Babylonians will carry off the young, able-bodied workers into exile and leave the poor, the elderly, and sick to die. People think God is abandoning them. So when the prophets gave their hints, the things that God was saying to them, they really had to say just what God said. So here, in this part of the story down here, the people were, and this really happened in the Bible, the people were asking Jeremiah to say things that God had not told him to say, just because they were worried. Sometimes people do this for real in our lives today. There are certain people who tell us that, if we just put so much money into the collection plate, that God will heal our families. Well, God does do miracles, but we can't just buy them. And so sometimes people are what we call false prophets. They're not telling the truth. Today, Jeremiah's secretary Baruch said that no matter what happens, God will be faithful. God will be faithful to us in exile 1,000 miles away. Baruch said God will find people wherever the Babylonians take us and will someday bring us home, even the lame, the blind, and those with child. Now, when we hear that God will take us home, what we're really hearing about is that Jesus will come, and one day we'll all be together in heaven. And that's the truth. That's the truth. When people tell you that it's going to happen to you tomorrow on earth if you just spend so much money here or there, all right, that might happen. But it's false for them to promise that. And then there's a little, I want you to go ahead and read here where it says, Dear Rabbi, read that yourselves, and think about what a rabbi is. And a rabbi was a teacher, and here it has the rabbi writing back to the mother. So just read that to yourself, and see what the rabbi says in the very last sentence, because it's really good advice. And then read the editorial over here to yourself, and you'll be able, after this video is over in just a minute, you will be able to go and to click on the last link, and the last link has there for you a reader's poll. I want you to answer those questions. Make sure you do that by December 16th so that I get that and that you can begin, actually do it by December 15th so that on December 16th, next Sunday, you can begin your next lesson. I want you also to take the time to, at some point, play this game. That's why you need a die, a six-sided die, so it's a dice that you roll. I want you to take the time to play this game, either with family members or with friends, and answer the questions in there. And then, if you want, you don't have to, but if you want, you can read about the tradition of St. Nicholas and where Santa Claus came from, because Santa Claus is a Catholic tradition started by a saint named St. Nicholas. And December 6th was actually, today is Saturday, it was Thursday. December 6th was St. Nicholas Day, the Feast of St. Nicholas. So you can learn about him by reading this, and click on your links, get your work done. I will see you next week for more videos, more questions, and more FSR. Bye!